Hey, folks, we're back, and there's a report out from a company called Netcraft, and it's highlighting the fact that the bad guys are using LLMs to craft phishing attacks, and they're doing it more efficiently, and they're harder to detect. And it's kind of building what feels like maybe a tsunami of these phishing attacks that we're going to see that are not only going to come in higher volume, but are going to be more sophisticated. Ira, is the cybersecurity game fundamentally changing here, and maybe the bad guys are benefiting more from AI than the good guys?
So I think there's a couple issues here. First off, I really don't like the concept of calling this a phishing attack. It's not a phishing attack. What this is essentially, in large part, is a data poisoning attack against LLMs. And there is a distinct difference because phishing implies you are pushing out information into people's inboxes. So, in the example cited in the referenced article, a phishing attack would be, hey, this is your bank. There's a problem with your credit card. Please click on the link or call us up at this number. And it's the wrong number. That's a phishing attack. In this case, what we're talking is LLMs spitting out the wrong information, where LLMs are giving people the wrong customer service type of thing. And I'll give you an example. People know, I run CruiseCon. People know I love cruising, and I'm active on the cruise boards out there. And what happens is somebody replied back saying, I wanted to update my reservation, and Royal Caribbean said there's a $400 port fee they didn't charge me for. And everybody's like, where'd you get that number? Because what the person did was they searched the internet, came up with a fake number for Royal Caribbean because that's what a criminal put out there on an LLM or whatever else, which is exactly what the attack is. And they have the person calling a fake call center because the LLM or the website was malicious that they looked at and got a fake number. This is the essence of the attack in question that we're referring to. Now, the reality is, how do we address this? The people who are running LLMs like ChatGPT are not necessarily looking for poison data. They're not looking for criminals who know, hey, I could go ahead and say, I am in the article, I cites Wells Fargo. I'm Wells Fargo. Here's my new numbers, and feeding in fake customer service numbers. And this is not unique to users. Users really have to just know. And this is nothing new, that you have to go to the actual company website or the number on the back of your credit card to actually get this. But anyway, to that extent, it's this, and it's just a matter of data poisoning that, people have to be aware of.
Lisa, will people stop trusting AI search tools and go back to, good old fashioned Google search engines?
That's a great question. I think we've got people that are pro AI, a lot of us in tech that know how to use it properly and responsibly. And then we've got the consumers, the general population who's terrified of it. I think those are two very distinct populations. I rarely find people that are in the middle. I think that certain populations, like students, for example, there's studies that I think I've talked about on iHeartRadio before that show that students between, I want to say, the ages of 18 and 25 who are leaning too heavily into like ChatGPT and LLMs like that to do their homework assignments and are not even second guessing, questioning, verifying the information that's being spit out. I think that's going to continue. But I think the message overall needs to be, one, like I said earlier, transparent. There is, as you guys talked about earlier, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's just be upfront about that. Help people understand where AI is already being used for good. And when it's being used nefariously. I talked about that on iHeart this morning about the transportation industry. The FBI and cybersecurity firms are saying now airlines are being targeted by potentially scattered spider. So let's make people aware so that they know what's happening, where the attacks might be coming from, and what they can do about that. But I think for the foreseeable future, we're going to see those two groups, pro AI, maybe three groups: pro AI, those that are dependent on LLMs, like the students I talked about, and then the folks that will touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah. Could I also, sorry, I was just going to quickly say, I do think that there is the banks and other large organizations periodically put out phishing awareness and stuff like that. They need to start doing this with LLMs as well, saying, much like that, please look at this information, not that information.
So, Ira, as you distinguished between phishing and LLM poisoning, I feel compelled to distinguish between poisoning and just the sewer that is the internet. Okay? When you talk to me about poisoning, I'm thinking of a malicious actor deliberately going into a chat prompt, putting some information in that makes its way into the LLM, that OpenAI, or the body of knowledge that this LLM is using to answer the next person, right? And to me, that's poisoning. I am intentionally going on there and putting in this data. One of the big changes I've seen in using AI, and I use it to help write and do stuff, is originally, these LLMs were trained on a subset of the internet that was 3 years old, 4 years old, 2 years old, whatever. What I've seen take place over the last couple months, year, whatever, is it actually pulls data live from the internet now, right? These are pulling data from the internet. And I think a lot of, especially like this article says, 65% of the domains are wrong. You know why? And Google search isn't going to help you. The internet itself is so polluted with sound-alike domains, fake domains, malicious sites, and they get onto Google search too. If you ever get through all the sponsored ads in Google and go to the actual search, you'll click on things that are not real there too. They don't do a great job of filtering it out. So when these LLMs are going out onto the internet, that's where they're getting poisoned. The environment is poisoned. This is like water in Flint, Michigan, right? It's poison out there. And so they're just a reflection of the internet at large. I don't even think it's necessarily intentionally by people saying, hey, I want to poison the LLM. No, it's the internet itself that's poisoning them.
Well, the internet. See, the internet is these LLMs are poisoning themselves because here's what like you mentioned, ChatGPT, 3 years old data. Now they have built-in agentic AI that, for example, says, "I want to know who won the sports game." And it will pull an agent to query the internet to get the data back. And then at some point, are these LLM, like ChatGPT and all these other ones, are they going to take or be held liable for feeding bad information and not filtering this out if people become reliant upon this? Because you're absolutely right. We need to know to go to wellsfargo.com, and that's where I should get the data. Should LLMs, much like we were talking about in the past segments, do the same?
Is Google liable for putting bad data in search?
Are they legally liable? The answer is no. But if you are, Google's not saying, give me Wells Fargo. You could say, I'm searching for Wells Fargo, and it says, this is all the data. But if I ask ChatGPT, I have a problem with my credit card, who can I call at Wells Fargo?
Google
and they feed me a different.
This is all the data. Like you go on to Google and say Wells Fargo. You're going to get sponsored ads by Chase, Citi, and 3 other banks. Then you're going to get some what we used to call Google search results that may have fake Wells Fargo domains in there. Then you're going to get some more sponsored stuff, then some videos and some other thing. I would hold Google to the same bar that we would hold the LLM companies to.
Well, I will play devil's advocate slightly and pass this on, but I do think that there's a difference between me saying, I am asking you a very specific question and want a specific answer, and doing a broad search the way it previously was. I'll leave it there.
Semantics. All right, guys, we're over time. I got to pull the plug, but what a great discussion. Lisa, it's so great having you on. Thank you. Ira, always bringing it. I appreciate you. Chhaya, I hope we didn't scare you away. You're going to come back because you were valuable here.
I had so much to learn from all of you. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, no, it's our pleasure. It's great to have you. John, keep doing what you're doing. Keep an eye out there on the Valley. Make sure all's well. hold up 2 if by land, 1 if by sea, but, we'll go from there. Mike, let's hope the Yankees, have a great after All-Star break.
I hope so. It's been an ugly June.
Yeah, it was an ugly June, but it's July. All right. Hey, we're out of here. Thank you for watching. We've got TechStrong TV coming at you immediately following, as usual. We'll be back on tomorrow with even more TechStrong gang and some more gang members. But for now, this is Alan Schimmel. We're out of here.